I think integration is the most important thing, because if you don't feel like you belong to a place, then you're not settled, and you're not going to be successful in a place that you don't feel like you belong. My name is Jane Wangare Karago Odongo. I was born in Kenya. I'm a Kenyan, but now I live in Canada, Ottawa, Ontario in Canada. I went to Canada about 21 years ago in the year 2000. The way I went to Canada was, there was an opportunity or an advertisement in local newspapers saying professionals needed to work in Canada. So my husband and I decided to apply to go there, and we were able to go as we were admitted, or we were qualified to go as skilled immigrants. The same skilled immigrants is a category, a immigration category in Canada, where they look at your qualifications and they give you points. And depending on the number of points that you get, then you're told that you can go and become a permanent resident. So that is what we did. One of the reasons, and maybe I can say one of the reasons we decided to leave Kenya was in the late 90s, life was not easy in Kenya. Life was not easy. I think the political situation was not great. People who felt they were well educated and qualified were not getting promoted, and there was general fear, especially for personal security. I felt that I'm a mother of 3 girls, and I felt that I would have liked for my children to grow up in another place where they would feel safe as women. Actually, that is the time that Mugiki was. I don't know that you remember Mugiki. It is an outlawed vigilante group. That is the time it was really up there, but also I had worked a lot in the community, and I had worked with women, and I realized, everyone knows that women didn't have a lot of opportunities, and they were not able to use their talents, all the talents that they have, and they were not able to reach their goals. There are so many things that limit them just because they are women. So when I thought about all that, I felt that my children would be better off, if I was able to migrate in a country where they, and don't kid yourself, there are discrepancies, gender discrimination all over the world, even in the first world countries. But it's better than it is here. And I can give an example of that disparity in the world, and especially in the developing world. A man earns $1, and a woman earns 70 cents for each dollar that a man makes of work of equal value. So I think even if you had a managing director, you can have a managing director that is male, and they are paid 400,000 shillings per month. And when you get a female, you'll think that maybe you should pay 350, and it happens, So somehow there is that gender discrimination. I would like to say that there are a lot of opportunities, and the foreign lands that I'm talking about is the Western world, the developed world. There are a lot of opportunities for us. For young people, they should, as much as possible, they should think of going to school if they want to have further education or advanced education, they should do it outside the country. Not because our degrees are not good, our degrees are fantastic, but because the education is going to be, it will go together with an opportunity to live in that country, or to get opportunities to work there, because we have a shortage of employment in this country. So so I would encourage people who are thinking of immigrating, when they are younger, it's better to go and go to school, and then after they finish their school, they can apply to become permanent residents. Especially, talking about Canada, we have a program where people become permanent residents who apply, and it's a point system. So for you to become a permanent resident, if you go there to study, once you finish your school, you can actually apply. And once you finish your education, you get a work permit to work for about a year or two. Just stay there and work. They'll not tell you you're done your school, please go away. And when you're going to school, you're able to make some little money. It's not enough money to pay international tuition, but maybe it can be able to pay for housing. So parents, whenever you send your children abroad, don't think that they'll be able to make enough money if they are students. The fees are really high, and they cannot work more than 20 hours. And they should not work more than 20 hours. One, because it's against the law, and two, they're going to tire themselves so much they won't be able to concentrate on their studies. So, but there are also other immigration categories. We have the provincial nomination for people who already have some education here, and want to go there. These days, the government of Canada is not only looking at professions, skills, what we used to call skills. They're looking at, they're all skills. They're not just looking at as professions like degrees and all that. They're also looking at trades, So if people have trades, we are looking for plumbers. Actually, I saw an advertisement saying they're looking for plumbers, electricians, welders. We need those people. A lot of the population that is growing, Canada is an aging population. That is the way we call it. So the majority of people, honestly, about 60% of Canadians are over 50. So if they are over 50, the other 40 there are so few who are younger, and they're getting older. And maybe that statistic is not correct. Don't quote it, but the majority of people are older, and they did not have children. That is this group, we call it the baby boomers, the children who are born after the Second World War. The parents of those children had many children, 8, 6, 12, 13, and those children did not have children. So they are the ones that are aging now, and they're in their 65 and above. Now that population never had children. So there is a gap. And that is why Canada is trying to bring in people to fill in that gap, because there has to be people who are working to take care of the senior citizens, and also to pay taxes for them to get their pension and everything, also to pay taxes for the country to move on. So the population is there, but a lot of it is not going to be working for a long time because they are aging and they're going to be retiring. So that is why Canada needs more people. Another thing about going back to school, when I went to Canada, I already had my education. I had over 15 years of experience working here as a professional. But when I went there, they did not recognize my education. So I had to go back to school. So, it doesn't matter whether even if you choose not to go back to school, sooner or later you'll find that you have to go back to school, because they're going to recognize their degrees and their diplomas, and then you'll be able to work. Otherwise, you're going to be working in what I would say menial jobs if you don't go back to school. So, and in Canada, in a lot of developed countries, it doesn't matter when you go back to school. I've worked with immigrants. One of the jobs that I did in Canada, I worked with immigrants, and I always advise them to go back to school. because they can get some money. You know, if you're a newcomer, if you know, there are so many grants that are available for different categories of people. And so I always advise them, why don't you go back to school? You know, you're tired of working in the factory. They're asking you to lift 50 kilograms and you're saying your back is hurting. Why don't you go back to school? They say, oh, I'm too old to go back to school, you know, but you're never too old to go back to school. Or they say, you know, like in Swahili, mimi ndio nitasoma ama ni watoto. Mimi, you know, mi sitaenda kushindana na watoto kwa shule, you know, but it does not matter. Statistically, people change their career 5 times in a lifetime in those parts of the world. They change, sorry, not 5 times, 3 times. They change their careers 3 times. So there is nothing crazy about being a doctor and then saying, I don't want to be a doctor anymore, I want to be a pilot, you know. They change, they say, I'm done and I'm moving on, you know. It's not interesting anymore, I don't like it anymore. So people should not feel that I'm too old to go back to school. In any case, like I'm saying, the people that are the senior citizens, the aging population, are finding that they are aging well, they are healthy, so they are not ready to retire. What are you going to do when you retire? So a lot of them are finding opportunities to continue working, maybe reduce the hours of work, but continue working. So so school, you know, so education is almost a must for any immigrant. There are also other categories. I talked about the skilled immigrant. There are people who go to Canada as refugees. Some people are not aware that there are opportunities to go to Canada as refugees. And I'm not telling people to just leave their country just for the sake, but there are people who are having a very hard life here, and Kenya is not working for them. You know, we have women that come to Canada and claim refugee status because they have lived in an abusive situation. So if women are being abused and there is no way, because the culture does not allow you to divorce, or you know, your religion does not allow you to divorce, you can leave. And I'm not telling people to leave, I'm not telling people to divorce, but also there are people, a big chunk of people who are, or women who are widowed. When women are widowed, the family of their husband is actually asking them to leave, telling them, you don't belong here, we don't know you. And it does not matter what age this widow is, you know, from a 23-year-old girl who should actually maybe move on and start a new life because they're too young to just, you know, stop their life there, to 65-year-olds who when their husbands die, they are told, we don't know you, you know, you don't belong here. Or they're treated badly. Maybe they're not told to leave, but they are treated so badly, you know, they cannot really move on with their lives. So those are the people that end up becoming refugees. Those are some of the people that end up becoming refugees. But the bigger number that can become refugees are those who are being displaced in their home. We know that right now in this country, there's a region where there is some fighting and people's houses are being burned. And these people sold their land or left. They don't have any other place to go. So they can try to apply for refugee status. And that's another process. You know, they would have to talk to someone who can help them. But usually once, if they were to enter the country and end up in Canada, they can actually claim refugee status, and there's a lot of help that comes after that. So what I would advise anyone wanting to move to Canada should go to the website, Canada Immigration and Refugee, something like that. Make sure you see the Canada logo. The Canadian logo is a maple tree. Make sure you see the maple tree, because there are other agencies that are, you know, that you see them on their website saying Canadian Immigration, but it is actually a consultant that is also wanting to help people, and they are asking for money. When you go to that website, do not pay anybody. Do not try to do not go to people who are saying that they'll show you the way and and you pay them, because the people who issue visas is the government of Canada. So no one else will get you a visa. You'll be wasting your money. For me, I really like to help. I've always worked in the, when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to help children, to work with children, and then I ended up training. Um, and so I like to see people's lives improved. I like to see people, changing their lives, changing from here to here, improving. And this is something that I did since I was young. My mom told me, even when we were growing up, I think I'm the only one who had a doll. There are some people that used to live near us, and I had a dolly, like a doll. Her name was Janet. And I could actually share my doll with the other girls, and they could go and spend the night with Janet. So I know that I've always helped. When I was in primary school, I was still the kind of person that if a girl falls, I'm the one going to ask to tell them, I'm so sorry you fell, get up, what do you need to do? So I'm that kind of a person, always reaching out to see what can I do for someone. And that is why in Canada, I work with newcomers, and because I went there as an immigrant, and I know what I went through. I usually wish that people don't have to go through so many problems to get to where I am. So but I find that, and I've talked about that in the book, in my book. I find that they do things the same way. So what the settlement, there are people called settlement workers who are funded by the government, by the federal government, to work with newcomers and show them how to settle in Canada. But they do things the same way that they did 20 years ago. So if I tried to settle 20 years ago and it took me 9 years to get settled, it's going to take 9 years for the newcomer to get settled, because they are new. They don't know me, they don't know anybody else. They're going to follow what they're being told. So how can we fast track this process? The only person who can help them know how to fast track the process is a person who has a lived experience. So I always work. I worked with immigrants for about 10 years, 10 to 15 years, and what I did is, when I found that they were missing the mark, getting lost, I was trying to see how to change them so that they understand this is the right way to do things if you want to get here. Let me just give a story. When I went to Canada, when I lived here for 15 years, I worked with women. Although my studies were training, was education, I became a trainer. I started working with women. I became a women coordinator. I attended seminars. I took courses. I had certificates and certificates and certificates working with women. When I went to Canada, I told them I'm an expert in women issues. And then they asked me, where is your degree? I said, I don't have a degree in women's. They said, you should have a degree in women's studies. Then I said, I don't have a degree in women's studies. I have a degree in education, and I have a lot of experience. I have all these certificates. Then they say, you're not a women's expert. So I actually went back to school and did a degree in women's studies. And okay, so I did very well. I did the degree. They gave me 1 credit for my 1 degree here, 1 year credit, and then I did 3 years, and I did the 3 years in 2.5 years, and finished. I was lecturing most of the classes, some of the classes, because here I am in my 30s, late 30s, and the students are 17 years old, 18-year-old. And they know nothing about women. In fact, I think any class that I attended, we ended up really talking about the African situation, because that is what I was well versed with. And my professors would actually sit back and let me talk, because I knew what I was talking about, because I had worked with an international organization for 15 years with women. Although they had not recognized that, Now the professor like, Jane, would you like to come and present about this? And I talked to my other professor, who was my what is it called? My academic advisor. And she told me, if she's asking you to present, she has to pay you. So I was actually getting paid as a teaching assistant. I ended up starting to get paid as a teaching assistant because I was assisting them in teaching. So they knew the theory, but they didn't know the practical. And I would even sometimes say, that's not exactly true. And then I would tell them my story and quote experiences which now they had to accept. Anyway, so that was my passion. And so after that, when I did that degree, I actually did a thesis. When I did the women's studies degree, I did a thesis. And in my thesis, it was about foreign credential recognition. And because, again, my passion has always been women, I interviewed about 12 women who came to Canada as skilled immigrants, whose foreign credentials were not recognized, or just to hear what it was all about, their foreign credentials. So I wrote a thesis on that, and then after that I went to. The reason I wanted to study that was like they never recognized my credentials, and my credentials, honestly, all those diplomas and certificates I was getting, I love Kenya, I love my country. A lot of them are not even from Kenya, they were from some foreign agency. Either I went for training or they came and trained us, So I have this certificate from NORAD, I have this certificate from the Dutch government, Danida, why would you not I know if you don't think Kenya is good enough, but surely Danida, surely, ODA, but they did not. So that's why I wanted to do some research and find out. And then I realized that some of it is lack of knowledge. Had I known what I know now, I would not have done another degree in women's studies. I would have done a master's in women's studies. I had the knowledge to support. Once you have one degree, you should go to a master's. You shouldn't be doing another 4-year degree. But no one told me. They told me, the people I listened to, they told me, you don't have a degree in women's studies. You cannot work as a women's expert. You cannot work with women, blah, blah. So I said, okay, I'm so determined, I'm going back to school. But had I known, I would not have done that. So those are some of the things that I would like to tell people. If you have one degree, your next place is a master's. You don't do another degree. If not, do a diploma, a practical diploma, like nursing. People do nursing, laboratory work, anything in the helping field, anything in the medical field is very sellable, especially among Black people. They give us those jobs. And then I also tell people, where are you likely to get a job and where are you not likely to get a job? And I don't tell them where, but I tell them, find out where you're likely to get a job. I've done interviews, I've sat in panels doing interviews with people, interviewing people, and the biggest question that Canadians will ask you, will look for, is whether you'll be able to fit in. They want to see whether you'll be able to fit in. And we haven't been trained. I don't know whether we even have any classes where we learn how to do interviews. In Canada, at grade 12, equivalent of grade 4, Form 4, they actually do interviews. They are trained how to do their resumes or CVs and how to do interviews. If you are from here, or from any other country and you go for an interview, you're going to fail the interview. That is why settlement workers, the one I was talking about, they actually are supposed to train people how to do an interview, how to write a resume, how to attend an interview, how to apply for jobs, how to make cold calls on their phone for jobs. So it's not out. I don't even call it racism. It's they just say, is she a good fit? But if she came in and she's looking down and she's, and she's saying, she's asked question, or you ask question and you say yes, you're even nodding, they don't know what that means, because our body language is very different. You're not looking at them and you're like, that's not an interview. You're supposed to sell yourself. In us Africans, a lot of time we humble ourselves. You say, hey, you are this, you're so rich, you're so intelligent, you're so smart, you're so beautiful. Usually we say, I'm just trying, But when you go to interviews there, you're supposed to say, I'm this and I'm that, I studied this and I studied this and I'm working on this and I worked here and I know about this. You're supposed to engage them. And then they like you. They want to know, they want someone who knows a lot, who is broad-minded, but also who talks. But our culture, we talk less. You're talking to the boss, like you told that a managing director, that is the, human resource, that is the one in your department. Hey, you cut down the words, and then they say, oh, she's so shy. She's, her demeanor is, I think I would give her 98. And everyone would say, yeah, this is the best in terms of qualifications, but I don't think she's a good fit. So the person who is number 3 gets the job because they presented, maybe you have a degree, they have a diploma, but they get the job because of the way they present themselves. So for me, working with immigrants, I tried as much as possible to help them to help them find better ways of getting settled, of adapting, getting adapted into the community, into the system, and when you do your thesis, it goes into some shelf and maybe nobody sees it, nobody quotes it, nobody references it. So I decided to put it in a book and also talk about my own experience so that people know this is not just a textbook. It is a guide. It is a guide to being successful, getting successful in a foreign land, and successful in everything. If you look at the book, you'll find that there are many, many chapters. I talk about returning to country of origin. I talk about remittances, sending money to country of origin. I even ask, who is responsible for your projects in your country of origin? Because we know how we get messed up when we send money here to build a house, and when you come home, nothing was built. How do we sponsor our relatives, our parents to come and join us there? What is their experience? What has been experience of older people who come and live in a country that is so cold that there's a language that they can't even speak? You cannot say my goal is to bring my 80-year-old mother to Canada. To do what? You lock her in the house because you have to go to work. So what are people's experiences when you bring grandmothers, and you think, instead of helping my mother back home, I'm going to bring her here. There's a lot of food here, but she's not at home. She doesn't fit in, So, and you cannot sit there and entertain your mother every day. You have to go to work. So those are some of the things I talk about. In the book, I talk about parenting, How do you parent in the foreign lands? There you cannot hit your child. You hit your child and the child goes to school and they say that you hit them, the child is taken away from you. And you have to go to some, the child will be brought back, but you have to go to learn to do some parenting classes. Can you imagine, you're 40 years old, you have 6 children, And the last born, you told her stop spilling food all over the place, and she went and said that she was caned, and now you're going to parenting school. So I did a survey of, honestly, of many immigrants. I went to churches. I worked with about 26 churches, black, what they call black churches. And I asked them one question. Are you as an immigrant, do you consider yourself successful? And that was a question. If yes, why? If no, why not? And what do you need to do to be successful? And a lot of them were like, or when will you feel successful? What needs to happen? And every single person said something to do with financial freedom, to do with finance, maybe not financial freedom, but I call it real financial freedom, because as long as we're in foreign lands and doing 3-4 jobs, because that's what people do. One job is not enough to pay your bills. So long as we're in foreign lands doing 3 jobs, you can think that we have financial freedom. But we don't have financial freedom because we should not be doing 3 jobs. Like, you're sleeping 3 hours in your car with an alarm. 3 hours over, you go to the next job. Even if you have that money, that's not financial freedom. And at the end of the day, now I'm talking to people about planning for retirement. And people have big houses, which they're still paying, which even when they reach retirement age, they will still be paying, because property is very expensive. The standard of living is very high. So people have to understand having a nice leather chair, because credit, and you see that I've talked about it in the book, credit is readily available. You go into a store, into a shop, and you like the sofa set, you like the ones that you think you can afford. You look at them, they are $300, and you say, this is what I can afford because I brought cash or I have money in my card. Then a salesperson says, you can get this one. How much is it? $10,000. I don't have $10,000. They say, oh, we can give you a credit card. Then you take it. So that is not financial freedom. Spending that kind of money is not necessarily financial freedom, or is not real freedom. You can say, like, if I send you pictures, you say, hey, Jane lives so well. But you don't know that all my money, my first job is to pay those credit cards. My second job is to pay my rent or my mortgage and some food. So I'm just buying chicken because chicken is cheap there. Chicken and bread. I'm not eating properly because I cannot afford it. And then my third job is to send home because my mother is sick. My brother is going to university, all those things. So you are there actually sending people money, and they are thinking you have financial freedom, but you are not. A lot of people are living in debt in foreign lands, My favorite part, there are a lot. There are a lot of favorite parts, but I'd like to talk about. I'd like to talk about is it integration? Integration. I think integration is the most important thing, because if you don't feel like you belong to a place, then you're not settled, and you're not going to be successful in a place that you don't feel like you belong. And Canada and a lot of countries really do something called family unification. That is another category of immigration. So if you're there and your family is back here, once you become a permanent resident, you're allowed to bring your family right away. And they don't even care whether you have a lot of money or anything like that, because they know or you don't care that whether you have a great job, so long as you have a job. Because as long as your family is here, your whole mind is not there, and they want you to get settled and contribute to the economy and be successful and not go into social assistance. So integration is very important. So I have talked about integration. Maybe I can just I can read a small passage at on the introduction of integration. So here we go. Integration is a process of opening a group, a community, a place, or an organization to all, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or state or social status. It could be described as becoming an accepted member of a group or community. For the purpose of this book, integration refers to the experiences of people and their families who have immigrated, settled in a new country, and ultimately become members of the new community. It refers to how they are perceived and how they perceive themselves in the host society, how they settle into the labor market, and the facilities and resources available to help them settle in their new environment. So integration in any country is two-way. It entails both newcomers and the host country finding a meeting point to share their common space and aspirations. So as long as immigrants don't feel that they are integrated, then they are really not part of that place. I come to Kenya every year. So home is important. You know, no matter where we go, we say east-west home is best. Let us go out there, earn the money, and establish ourselves here. When we grow old, we don't want to grow old in a foreign country. We don't want to be taken to nursing homes, you know. We want to come back home here to family. Even establish your own system where you will pay someone to take care of you, and you will be able to afford it here more than out there. So people should go out, make their living, bring up their children, do everything that they need to do, but don't forget home. And I know that we are not forgetting home because right now, remittances that come to Kenya are number 2 of the foreign exchange, you know, so we are bringing a lot of money here. But that money should be spent in the right way. It should go to investing rather than building a house in Loitoktok, you know, in your mother's or father's land where you won't even be able to use that house. So build, you know, invest wisely. I'm also a financial planner, so I tell people that they should invest wisely, but also plan for retirement. It is very, very important to plan for retirement, and retirement comes very soon. Back here, the difference here is that you may retire in your home, where like your ancestral land or your home. Back there, you really don't have a home to retire to. So people should invest and make sure that when they come back here, they have a home, but also they have some income that is taking care of them because they won't be working. So people should really plan for retirement. Therefore, in terms of my message is both places are home. Every time I am here, people are telling me, when are you going back? I see people like I've arrived 2 days ago. They hadn't known that I'm around. They see me and say, hey, you're here. When are you going back? And I'm like, come on. I'm here. This is home, you know. But when I'm in Canada, people are telling me, so, where are you from? You know, 21 years later, where are you from? So where exactly are you from? You know, and I'm like originally, where did you really come from? You know, so your home is here and there and here, you know. But whatever the case, home here, home is best. Home is best. Here, nobody will ask you, where are you really from, you know. Yeah. So go there, get the money. Go there. I mean, the white man came here and invested and got the best that they could. Our forefathers, our grandfathers were paying taxes. They don't even know what the tax was for, to give to the Queen and to give to England. So if it is an opportunity for us to go and get whatever we can there, let's go and get it and bring it back here and enjoy it. You know, there's nothing wrong, you know, so that's what I can say. But education is still key. Education is key to life. It is still key. The book is available, it's going to be available online, and I'm going to, I think at a later date, I'm going to communicate to you. So it is going to be available locally for Kenyans. It will be sent by post. That is the only way we can send it. We can deliver it. I'm hoping that I can also get it into one of the stores or a few stores, a few bookshops, so that it can also be available there. Right now, it's retailing at 1,500 only for Kenya, for Kenyans. Outside the country, it's going to be a bit more because I actually have this book selling at $32 in Canada, and because the cost of production is extremely high. It's extremely high, and in Canada, I have to pay taxes on the book. So it's I get more money here than I would get there. That's the reality. That's why I came and printed the book here for local consumption, because I cannot sell the books from Canada because they are $32 plus shipping. It's just impossible. Yeah.